Sagittarius, there is a woman draining your energy. Here's how to protect yourself before it's too late. You are known for your wisdom, your fire, and your unshakable optimism. But lately something feels off. There's an invisible weight that has settled over your shoulders, a subtle drain in your spirit that you can't quite explain. And your intuition, sharp and ancient, has been whispering the same question over and over. Why do I feel so depleted after certain people leave the room? You haven't lost your spark, dear one, but someone around you may be feeding on it. This message didn't find you by chance. It's your cosmic wake-up call. There is a presence in your circle, perhaps a woman, who cloaks herself in concern, charm, or need. Yet behind the surface, there is an energy that seeks to tether you, diminish you, and slowly eclipse your light. I'm Sophia, your guide here at Zodiac Wisdom, and today I will help you identify this spiritual interference and reclaim your sacred power. You'll learn to spot the signs, strengthen your energetic boundaries, and protect the wild, brilliant flame that makes you you. If this speaks to something you felt but couldn't name, stay with me. Like, share, subscribe. Let your healing begin. Not through fear, but through fierce clarity and grounded love. Let's walk through the first gate together. Gate 1: the hidden drain. When generosity becomes a gateway for spiritual theft. Sagittarius, let's begin with something uncomfortable, yet necessary. You are known for your big spirit, your unfiltered honesty, and your desire to uplift others. You see potential where others see limits, and your first instinct is to help, sometimes to a fault. But that very instinct, that open-hearted generosity, is exactly what makes you vulnerable to something far more insidious than you may realize. Energetic theft. And more specifically, the quiet, slow erosion of your life force by someone who pretends to be your ally. You may already suspect who this is. Perhaps she is an old friend, a colleague, or even a family member. She seems kind. She often says she admires your strength, your independence. But after every conversation, you feel strangely heavy. After every time you help her, a fog seems to follow you for hours. Your spark dims and you don't know why. Let me be clear. This is not love. This is not friendship. This is not support. This is spiritual manipulation cloaked in neediness. And if you're not careful, your radiant Sagittarian fire will be reduced to embers, because someone else is using it to warm themselves. I once worked with a Sagittarius woman named Celeste. She was brilliant, entrepreneurial, intuitive, magnetic. Everyone wanted to be around her. One day, she confided in me about a woman named Laura who'd reappeared in her life. She says she's going through a tough time, Celeste told me. She calls every day. I don't want to abandon her, but I feel exhausted after every conversation. I asked her a simple question. Before she came back into your life, how did you feel? She paused. Lighter, clearer, more focused. I was actually excited about my new business. There it was, the moment of realization. Sagittarius, if you felt a decline in your energy, your enthusiasm, your clarity, and it coincides with the presence of a specific person in your life, please do not ignore it. This is not paranoia. This is intuition. Here are some telltale signs you may be dealing with a woman who is draining your energy. She always seems to need you when you're doing well. You just landed a great opportunity or had a joyful moment, and she calls with a crisis. After speaking with her, you feel physically tired or emotionally foggy. She plants subtle doubts with phrases like, "You used to be more fun," or "You've changed," masked as concern. She mirrors your style, your ideas, even your language, but it feels off, like she's copying, not connecting. She always has a bigger drama than yours. If you're going through something, hers is worse. The focus always shifts back to her. The most dangerous part? She doesn't appear to be toxic at first glance. In fact, she may seem vulnerable, kind, or even deeply wounded. That's how she draws you in. You, Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, have a natural inclination to uplift others. You want to help. You think, maybe they just need love. Maybe they'll change. But this is where your spiritual discernment must come in. Not everyone who cries wants healing. Not everyone who leans on you is trying to stand up. Some are trying to lean forever. Energetic vampires often show up when your light is brightest. It's not a coincidence that you feel most drained when you're on the edge of a breakthrough. They sense your expansion and unconsciously or consciously they try to tether you back down. Let's return to Celeste. After a month of applying boundaries, she stopped taking every call. She responded to texts with simple, kind but firm messages. "I'm not available today. Take care." That's all. Within a week, she noticed something miraculous. Her sleep improved. Her ideas returned. She felt like herself again. "It's like I've been under a spell," she told me. That's exactly what it was. A spiritual fog created by proximity to someone who did not have her highest good in mind. Sagittarius, this is your wake-up call to reclaim your energy. Not with anger or vengeance, but with truth, clarity, and unwavering boundaries. What can you do right now? Observe without judgment. Watch how this woman enters and exits your life. Does she arrive during your wins? Does she leave when you're struggling? Notice your body. Your intuition lives in your physical experience. Do you feel tension, fatigue, or confusion after seeing her? Practice the distance test. Go 2 weeks with less contact. If your mood lifts, your answer is clear. Guard your sacred space. Stop oversharing. She doesn't need to know your every move. You owe no one a full map to your inner world. Affirm your light. You do not exist to save others. Your fire is for illuminating your path, not burning out in someone else's shadow. Sagittarius, your light is divine, and not everyone deserves access to it. In the next gate, we'll explore the emotional entanglement, how these connections deepen, how they disguise themselves as love or loyalty, and how you can gently yet powerfully sever what no longer serves. But for now, take a deep breath. Place a hand over your heart, and repeat softly, "My energy is sacred. My light is mine. I am allowed to protect it." Gate 2. The goodbye that sets you free. Letting go of energetic entanglements. Sagittarius, sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is walk away. Not in anger, not in resentment, but in truth. In spiritual truth, goodbyes are not endings. They are openings. And you, child of fire and wind, were not meant to stay caged in emotional contracts that no longer serve your growth. But I know what you're feeling. Letting go of someone, even someone who hurts you, doesn't always feel like relief at first. Feels like grief. Because the connection, even when unhealthy, was familiar. The history was real. You shared laughter, maybe secrets, maybe years. She may have been in your circle for a long time, perhaps even someone you once believed was part of your destiny. But Sagittarius, listen closely. Not everyone who walks with you was meant to reach the summit with you. Some people were only chapters, not the whole story. And your story is still unfolding. I want to tell you about Marcus, a Sagittarian man who came to me in quiet desperation. He had spent years offering his emotional strength to a friend named Eva. She was kind, brilliant, and deeply wounded. But their friendship was one-sided. Always him giving, her receiving. She pulled him into her chaos, her dramas, her self-doubt. And every time he tried to create space, she accused him of abandonment. "It feels like betrayal," he told me. "But I'm drowning in her sorrow." I asked him a question I now offer to you. Is this connection watering your growth or flooding your roots? He sat in silence. Then he whispered, "It's drowning me." Sagittarius, that is your soul's signal. When someone's presence demands that you shrink, diminish, self-abandon, it is not love. It is bondage. Many Sagittarians struggle with this because your loyalty is underestimated. People think you are flighty or non-committal. But in truth, once you care deeply. You defend. You uplift. You stay, sometimes longer than you should. But just because you once resonated with someone, does not mean you are obligated to carry them into your future. Your path is not theirs to walk. And clinging to outdated bonds only delays the blessings that are trying to reach you. Here's what no one tells you about energetic entanglement. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers through chronic fatigue, through anxiety before a phone call, through hesitation to share your joy. That is how your soul lets you know this connection is costing too much. When you choose to say goodbye, not out of hate, but out of reverence for your own light, you activate spiritual sovereignty. You send a message to the universe. I am ready to grow, even if it means walking alone for a while. And yes, Sagittarius, there will be moments of ache. Moments when you question if you were too harsh, too quick, too cold. That's the residue of guilt placed on empaths by those who benefited from your emotional labor. But don't mistake discomfort for wrongdoing. Healing is rarely comfortable. It is almost always necessary. The night Marcus told Eva goodbye, she exploded, accused him of selfishness, said he had changed. And he had. He had changed from a man who betrayed himself to keep others comfortable, to a man who finally chose peace over performance. Within weeks, Marcus's energy shifted. He started waking up without dread. He created space in his life for healthier friendships. He returned to music, something Eva always dismissed as childish. He became radiant again. That is the power of goodbye. Sagittarius, your fire is not meant to burn out keeping others warm. It is meant to lead, to illuminate, to transform. And sometimes the only way to reignite that fire is to let go of who dims it. I invite you now to ask yourself, is there someone I need to release in order to return to myself? Sit with the answer. Let it rise. Don't fight it. Don't judge it. Let truth speak. Then when you're ready, whisper it aloud. I choose me. I release what no longer serves. I return to my center free and whole. In Gate 3, we'll explore what happens when you make space. How the universe responds to your clarity with sacred connections, soul-level love, and the kinds of partnerships that don't drain but restore. But for now, take this moment. Cry if you need to. Breathe deep. You are not broken for letting go. You are brave. You are choosing your rebirth. Gate 3, love that doesn't drain. The soulmate your spirit has been waiting for. Sagittarius, in the quiet after a storm, when your tears have dried, and your soul has finally exhaled, something sacred begins to stir. It's not loud. It doesn't arrive like a movie scene or a lightning bolt. It arrives like a presence. Gentle, familiar, like a song you once loved but forgot. Until now, you may not have believed in soulmates, or perhaps you did once and life taught you not to expect too much. But deep within you, beyond the logic and the bravado, you've always yearned for a connection that sees you. Not just your laughter, not just your ambition, but the silence behind your smile. And let me tell you this truth. When you make space by letting go of what is false, the true connections can finally find their way to you. Sagittarius, your soulmate is not someone who completes you. You are already whole. A true soulmate is someone who reflects you, challenges you, inspires you, and most importantly, protects your light, not consumes it. Let me tell you about Alina, a Sagittarian woman in her early 40s. After ending a 10-year relationship with a man who admired her spirit but secretly resented her independence, she spent 2 years completely alone. She hiked mountains solo. She painted again. She learned how to sleep without checking her phone at midnight, hoping for someone else's emotional crumbs. Then during a silent retreat in Chiang Mai, she met Idris. He didn't sweep her off her feet. He saw her. They spoke slowly, listened fully, and for the first time in years, Alina didn't feel like she had to earn love. It arrived in stillness, in respect, in small sacred gestures. Idris wasn't threatened by her strength, he celebrated it. He didn't dim her fire, he danced in its glow. And in that safe container, Alina bloomed again. That Sagittarius is what you deserve. Love that is recognition, not rescue. Presence, not possession. Support, not surveillance. Your soulmate might not arrive with fireworks. They may come in the form of an old friend reappearing, a new coworker who feels strangely familiar, or even someone you once overlooked, now seen with new eyes. But you will know them, not by their words but by your energy around them. When you speak, you'll feel heard. When you fall silent, they will not fear the quiet. When you shine, they'll smile, not shrink. But here's the paradox. Soulmate love only finds you when you stop searching and start aligning. The more you become yourself, the more you live unapologetically in your truth, the louder your soul signal becomes. And those who resonate with your frequency will be drawn to it like moths to a flame. So if love hasn't arrived yet, don't despair. This is your preparation season. The universe is rearranging pieces, and your job is to remain open but grounded, hopeful but not desperate, receptive but rooted in self-worth. Here's how you'll recognize a sacred connection when it comes. It feels peaceful, not performative. It challenges you to grow without tearing you down. It honors your solitude without punishing your independence. It listens more than it lectures. It reminds you of who you are, not who you need to become to be loved. Sagittarius, love like this is not rare. It's just rare for those who haven't healed. And you, brave soul, are healing. That is why it's on the horizon. Before we move to the next gate, I want you to sit with this affirmation. I no longer chase love. I attract it by being who I truly am. Write it down. Whisper it before bed. Let it replace the old scripts of unworthiness and sacrifice. Because when you love yourself with the same fire you once gave to others, you become magnetic. And your soulmate? They're not far. They're on their way, not because you begged for them, but because you finally became the kind of person who would never settle again. In Gate 4, we'll explore what happens in the silence before the arrival. Those in-between moments when you feel lost, uncertain, even abandoned. You'll learn how to trust that the void isn't the absence of life, but the womb of transformation. Gate 4, Trusting the Void. When silence becomes your sacred teacher. Sagittarius, the most unsettling part of your journey isn't the heartbreak or the letting go. It's the silence that follows. It's the space after the goodbye but before the new beginning. The liminal, invisible in-between. Here is where the doubt creeps in. Where your mind whispers, "Did I make a mistake?" Where the phone doesn't ring, where messages go unanswered. Where everything you once leaned on for comfort fades into quiet. And you, my wild soul, are left with only yourself. This is not punishment. This is initiation. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, often teaches the most profound truths through stillness. You may think you've been forgotten. You may feel like you've been left behind. But in truth, you are being held in silence, in the dark womb of your becoming. Spiritual awakening rarely looks like what we imagine. It's not always bright candles, angel numbers, or full moon rituals. Sometimes it looks like not being able to get out of bed. Like suddenly questioning everything you once knew. Like realizing that people you trusted cannot walk this next leg of your path. You may find yourself feeling hypersensitive, noticing every little shift in energy. You may walk into rooms and feel discomfort before anyone even speaks. That's not anxiety. That's awakening. Your spirit is learning to discern truth by vibration, not logic. You might even cry for reasons you can't explain. Mourn relationships that haven't ended yet. Or feel haunted by old memories you thought you'd already healed. All of this is normal. It's the soul's way of clearing space. You are being emptied not because you are broken, but because you are being prepared for something greater. I once sat with a Sagittarian client, Maya, who was in this exact space. I feel like I'm floating, she told me. I don't know who I am anymore. I smiled gently and said, "Good. That means your old identity has released its grip." In spiritual terms, this is known as the void. It is a sacred space where ego dissolves and essence begins to emerge. It is where your past self dies, and your true self begins to whisper. And I want you to know this. If you are in the void right now, you are exactly where you're meant to be. The world may not understand. Your friends may urge you to just move on, or get busy again. But your soul knows the truth. The stillness is not laziness. It is recalibration. The fog is not confusion. It is a veil lifting between your old life and the one your spirit is calling forth. This is where intuition sharpens, where dreams become more vivid, where synchronicities multiply even if your outer world seems quiet. It's the period between inhaling and exhaling. A sacred pause, not a dead end. Here's what I want you to do, Sagittarius. Stop seeking clarity from others. Begin asking your soul. Replace the question, "What's wrong with me?" with "What am I shedding?" Instead of rushing to fix the discomfort, lean into it. Breathe. Witness. Your discomfort is the cocoon. The confusion is sacred mulch. And your next form? Glorious. This is also the time to protect your energy fiercely. You are raw, open, vulnerable. Be selective about who you let near you. Not everyone deserves access to this version of you, the version that is still forming wings. If you must weep, weep fully. If you must retreat, do so without apology. You owe no explanations for your healing. You owe no performance for your pain. The version of you that will emerge from this silence will no longer beg for love, will no longer chase validation, will no longer shrink to fit. She will rise clear, calm, and luminous. And she will know, finally, that she was never lost, only waiting to be found by her own light. Gate 4 is not the end. It's the threshold, the crossing point where your old stories dissolve and the soul steps forward to lead. Take this moment to whisper to yourself, "I trust the silence. I am not lost. I am awakening. In our final part, the conclusion, we will gather all that has been revealed. We will step back and see the full tapestry, the grief, the release, the love, the silence, as one radiant divine preparation for the Sagittarius you were always meant to become. Conclusion, you were never meant to dim. Sagittarius, take a deep breath with me. Let it be a moment of stillness, of reflection, of remembering. You've walked through fire and silence. You've released what no longer honored your spirit. You've mourned what had to end. You've waited with trembling faith in the unknown. And now you stand at the edge of something sacred. This wasn't just a reading. It was a reclamation. The woman who began this journey may have been unsure, exhausted, even invisible. But the one standing here now, she is self-chosen, self-led, self-lit. You've learned that your light was never meant to be dimmed for the comfort of others. That boundaries aren't walls, they're invitations for only those who deserve access to your sacred energy. That real love doesn't drain, it reflects. And that silence isn't abandonment. It's the womb of divine transformation. You are not broken. You are blooming. And as your guide, Sophia, I want to remind you, this is only the beginning. There will be days ahead when you forget your strength. Come back to this moment. Come back to your truth. Come back to your light. I'm honored to walk beside you on this soul journey. If this message has stirred something within you, whether a tear, a memory, or a new decision, I invite you to support the channel by subscribing, commenting your reflection below, or even sharing this with another Sagittarius soul who may need it. And if you feel called to leave a tip to support my work in future readings, know that it's never expected, but always deeply appreciated. Your generosity helps me keep creating sacred space for souls like yours. Above all, stay open, stay grounded, and never again shrink to be understood. You were made to be felt in full. With all my love and astrological devotion,